This is going to be the experience of a lifetime, is what my mom told me 3 weeks after my 15th birthday, when she decided to pack her bags and go on a big trip to the Far East, just us two. I remember one moment in particular. It was January, about 4 months into our journey, and we had just arrived in Munnar. If you don't know this place, Munnar is a beautiful town in southern India, surrounded all around by green and vivid, never-ending tea plantations that look just like something out of the set of Alice in Wonderland. One morning, me, my mom, and a couple of our friends decided to go on a little exploration of the plantations. Now, one thing you should know is that the available paths for such a quest were a little questionable. The main road was completely bare and would curve around each hill so that you couldn't see what was merely 10 meters ahead of you. As you can probably imagine, it did not take long before we encountered our first obstacle, a tree that blocked the road. We decided to turn back, abandon the map that we had completely, and just walk about and see which path felt right. It was about 2 hours into our excursion when the realization that we were utterly lost began to sink in. As if that wasn't enough, it started raining. And as some of you may already know, when you're in a tropical country, you never know if that rain is going to last for 3 minutes or 3 days. Knowing this, we rushed back to the main road, our best chance to keep walking until someone, hopefully, passed by. We walked for another 2 hours, hungry and tired, when suddenly we saw a small house, a cabin. I must admit, I was a little scared. It never ends well when a group of curious travelers comes across an isolated cabin in the middle of the woods. Nevertheless, having no better options, we knocked on the door, and 2 ladies greeted us. At first, they seemed unsure of who we were or what we wanted. We asked if we could simply stand under the slightly extending roof of their house to shelter ourselves from the rain. When they realized we meant no harm, they immediately urged us to come inside. They made us tea, introduced us to their children, and told us about their lives. I felt so many things in that moment. I felt overwhelmed, relieved, grateful. I couldn't help but think that just a moment ago, I was completely lost somewhere in a tea plantation. And now, I was fed, I was warm, I was safe. That incident still has a special place in my heart, not just because of the kindness that was shown to me, but for what I learned. That was the first time I realized connection can actually save your life. When we turn to nature with a question of survival, the answer is usually quite simple. The strong survive. For some animals, strength is found in unity. Lionesses, for example, often tend to hunt in prides. Their survival literally depends on their ability to cooperate together towards a common cause. Others can hunt and survive alone, but it isn't always quite as beautiful and romantic as we have been led to believe. I'm sure by now we've all heard the phrase, a lone wolf. That is usually said in a positive context, right? We use it when we want to describe someone who kind of walks their own path. It symbolizes resilience and independence, when in fact, a study done by the Wolf Project conservation biology consultant in Spain shows that lone wolves are actually more likely to die from injury disease, or hunger than those who live in packs. Now, with humans, it is slightly more complicated. With us, survival and meaning have become intertwined. Think about it. We do basic tasks, such as eating and drinking, so we can sustain ourselves, continue on living, so we can harness value into our lives through experiences and activities, which is the very reason we eat and drink to sustain ourselves in the first place. Do you see that loop? This complex survival mechanism is unique because it obtains a hidden value, a more spiritual aspect to our survival, which is the desire for meaning and its pursuit. But to truly understand our survival mechanism, we first have to notice it, acknowledge it, and we do that by asking questions, by exploring concepts we never thought to doubt, and noticing the patterns of survival that exist in them. And when we look at aspects of survival, adaptation, resilience, longevity, we find that there is an ancient act, a long misunderstood phenomenon that exists in all of these. Connection. When we make friends in a new environment, we use our ability to make connections to adapt. When we travel to new places or associate with people, we use our emotional intelligence to notice patterns around us and learn from them, so we can better understand cultures and reactions. Think about it this way. In our survival mechanism, there is a question and an answer, an urge or a need that we have for a reason, and something we do to make sure those needs are met. When we feel thirst, we drink. When we feel hunger, we eat. And when we feel the desire for meaning through human interaction, we make connections. Connections are more than a marginal development of human interaction. It is our way of surviving in the modern world. Once we understand that we are as fueled and sustained by connections, just as we are by food and water, we can take it one step forward by asking ourselves, is there room for improvement? Because a good connection is just like a good meal. It gives us strength and energy. A bad connection does the opposite. It causes harm. But how do we make connections better? Can we truly plan it in advance like we do with our meals? To better understand this concept, I would like you to imagine that there is a bridge between you and every single person you have ever known in your entire life. That bridge, its ability to stand, and the weight it can carry, depends on what was put into it, on the foundations you prepared for it, on your expectations from it, but mainly on the shapes that make up that bridge, creating evenly distributed pressure and a stable environment. What do you think is considered the strongest shape to build a bridge? I'm going to give you a hint. It's not a square. The strongest shape to build a bridge is actually a triangle. That realization led me to the development of my theory, the triangle of connection. As you can see, each vertex is given an element. First, risk. Second, intention. And third, trust. In addition to those, there is another hidden element that is essential to every strong bridge, just as it is to every strong connection. Pressure. You can think of this pressure as something that is beyond our control, a fact of life. It could be your religion, your ethnicity, school, a specific situation like getting lost in a tea plantation. But the triangle of connection not only demonstrates which elements should exist in a productive and fruitful connection, but which elements don't. Judgment, fear, distrust. These emotions are unstable and could never be the pillars of a strong bridge, the pillars of a strong connection. When me and my friends decided to knock on the small cabin door back in the tea plantation in India, despite not knowing who will be standing at the other end of that door, we chose risk over doubt, intention over hesitation, trust over suspicion. We were able to build a bridge between us and them, a bridge that would lead us to safety. A study from the Harvard Center on the Developing Child shows that the early years in the development of the brain are the most critical to establishing a strong foundation. Our society is not much different. Building strong connections, and therefore a strong society, requires strong foundations. It requires us to look inward and address our deepest desires and values. It requires a moment of doubt, a moment to reconsider the direction we are headed on and make a conscious choice to enhance humanity within this world through an investment in the human spirit. The triangle of connection could be our way of doing just that. It is a guide, almost a measurement tool we can use to examine connections we already have in our lives and to help guide us when forming future connections. My goal here today is to shift and change your perception of connections from something that might seem like a nice thing to have to something that is crucial to our survival as individuals and a species. When a small number of individuals stop forming connections, they are left behind. When we as a society stop forming connections, when we neglect the art that sustains our meaning, our motive to live and survive, our spirit, we lose our sense of self, and we, at least as humans, will not survive. It does not take much, just intention, making conscious choices in your personal lives, risk, making these choices under the uncertainties of life, and taking responsibility, and finally, trust, allowing yourself to have faith in other people, while also being worthy of others having faith in you. So the next time someone reaches out a hand, remember that you have the power in that moment to preserve and protect something truly worthwhile. And I do hope you reach back. Thank you.